Barbara Ann Mangus was born on January 24, 1953, to James and Anna Marie McMillan in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, where she spent her entire life. In 1974, Barbara lived with her husband, Walter Mangus Jr., who went by Sonny, and their young son, Jimmy Mangus, who went by James. On December 14, 1974, Barbara and Sonny attended a work Christmas party at the This Is It Club, a tavern on Route 53 and Frankstown Road in Johnstown. Around 12:30 a.m., following an argument with Sonny, Barbara left the party on foot, intending to walk home. Their residence on Corrine Avenue near Garfield Junior High School was nearly 5 miles from the club. Witnesses later reported seeing Barbara walking through downtown Johnstown, along Roosevelt Boulevard, through Cambria City, and down Broad Street, possibly reaching Fairfield Avenue, just 2 blocks from her home. There were also unconfirmed reports that she was seen speaking to men at the Act 3 diner near the Public Safety Building on Washington Street before leaving alone. Despite multiple sightings, Barbara never made it home. Sonny reported her missing later that day, and search efforts got underway. Tragically, 2 weeks later, on December 31, 1974, a hunter named John Cummings discovered Barbara's body on a private road known as KMP Farm Road in Middle Taylor Township. She had been strangled, and her death was ruled a homicide. Tom McMillan Jr., dissatisfied with the lack of progress in the investigation, began conducting his own inquiries. His efforts led to threats that his wife would be harmed if he didn't back off. Over the years, Barbara's son and nephew continued to pursue answers despite repeated obstacles. Suspicion has haunted Barbara's husband, Sonny, for years, as he often faced accusations from members of the community. Despite this, no charges were ever brought against him. In 1999 or 2000, her son James met with investigators at the State Police Barracks in Ebensburg. During that meeting, an investigator reportedly confirmed that a former Johnstown police officer was a prime suspect in Barbara's murder, but would not disclose the officer's identity, only revealing that the individual was deceased. This corroborated long-held suspicions within Barbara's family about possible police involvement. There were other complexities in the case. Barbara's family received 4 anonymous death threat letters, which remain in police custody. Requests to access the contents of these letters were denied due to the ongoing investigation. Additionally, DNA evidence was collected from the scene, potentially tied to a sexual assault, but it was reportedly lost before it could be fully analyzed. The case also drew attention to local political connections. Former Johnstown Mayor Charles Tom Avenich, who went by Kutch and lived on the same street as Barbara's family and had previously employed her, was speculated to have knowledge of the case. However, efforts by city detectives in 1983 to question him were reportedly blocked by then-Mayor Herb Fuel, further fueling speculation of a cover-up. Barbara was murdered on December 15, 1974, and as of February 2025, this case remains unsolved. On August 5, 1979, a boy riding horseback discovered partial human remains near Old Dundee Road in Barrington Hills, Illinois, about 40 miles northwest of Chicago. Barrington Hills police responded to the scene and found a partially charred torso along with severed legs nearby. However, the head and arms were never recovered, complicating efforts to identify the victim. Investigators determined that the victim had been killed elsewhere before being left in the wooded area. Despite efforts to uncover the victim's identity, there were no distinguishing features or clues, and the case went cold. At the time, this was the 5th torso discovered in Cook County within a span of 16 months, raising suspicions of a potential serial killer. However, given the vast size and high crime rate of Cook County, it was unclear whether these murders were connected or if the method of body disposal was simply coincidental among unrelated crimes. In 2023, over 4 decades later, police partnered with Othram and were able to identify the victim as 27-year-old Joseph A. Kaliva, a former Marine who was working for Chicago's Streets and Sanitation Department at the time of his disappearance in August 1979. Joseph's half-sister, Linda Gressick, provided her DNA for comparison and was instrumental in confirming his identity. Linda revealed that her family, including Joseph, had grown up in Chicago. She described Joseph as a dedicated worker and Marine veteran whose sudden disappearance left the family with decades of unanswered questions. His parents had both passed away, his mother in 1997 and his father in 2004, never knowing what happened to him. For Linda, the identification brought some closure, but it also reignited the need to uncover the truth about what happened to her brother. This identification also sheds light on the grim pattern of dismembered bodies found in Cook County during the late 1970s. Of the 5 cases reported during that time, only 2 have now been identified, including Joseph's. The other victims remain nameless, and the circumstances surrounding their deaths are still unknown. Law enforcement has not named any suspects in Joseph's case and stated that the investigation is ongoing. Joseph Kaliva was found murdered on August 5, 1979, and as of February 2025, this case remains unsolved. At age 23, Kierra Stubbs was a mother of 2 living in Birmingham, Alabama. She was described as a sweet, funny, and loving person who adored her children. In early 2014, Kierra met Lawrence Dudley at a gas station where he offered to fix her car if she would do his daughter's hair. She agreed, and they became acquainted. On April 24, 2014, Kierra's brother drove her to the 5 Points West Boost mobile store where she planned to meet Dudley. Since she had done his daughter's hair, he offered to provide her with money to get the brakes on her car fixed. Around 9 a.m., Kierra can be seen getting into Dudley's burgundy Chrysler 200 and was never seen again. When she failed to return that night, her family reported her missing. Dudley quickly became a person of interest in her disappearance, but he was never charged. Despite extensive searches and media coverage, no leads produced a breakthrough in the case. Kierra's family has long believed she was murdered. They have heard stories over the years that reinforce their suspicions, though no conclusive evidence has surfaced. Dudley, who was the last known person to see her, was questioned but never arrested in connection with Kierra's disappearance. However, in an unrelated case, Dudley was arrested in November 2024 in Birmingham for aggravated assault and attempted murder in a domestic violence case involving strangulation. The violent crime occurred nearly 3 years earlier, raising questions about why it took so long for his arrest. While this case is unrelated to Kierra's disappearance and presumed murder, it further deepens suspicions about his possible involvement in her fate. Nearly 11 years later, on January 16, 2025, the Birmingham Police Department executed a search warrant at Kierra's previous residence, hoping to find new evidence. Law enforcement, in coordination with the Jefferson County Coroner's Office, searched a home in the 4600 block of Terrace S in the Inslee community. Investigators also moved a storage shed and used an excavator to dig for potential evidence based on tips they had received. However, no human remains were found. This house was one of the first places her family had searched after she went missing, and they had not discovered anything at that time either. The day after this search, rumors started swirling online that Kierra's remains had been found, but according to investigators, that is not true. Kierra Stubbs went missing on April 24, 2014, and as of February 2025, she has never been found, and her case remains unsolved. Kristy Jean Rogers was born on August 23, 1980. At age 16, she lived with her mother, Wilma, and Wilma's live-in boyfriend, Robert Wilcutt, on Walnut Avenue in Crestview, Florida. Unfortunately, Wilcutt had a criminal record that included prison time for child abuse. Regardless, she and her mother remained very close, and for her upcoming 17th birthday, Wilma bought her daughter a car. However, 22 days before her birthday, a horrible tragedy occurred. On August 1st, 1997, Kristy told her mother she was spending the night at a female friend's house. Instead, she stayed with her boyfriend, 18-year-old William Cawthon, who went by Mac, at his house on North Lloyd Street. It was the first time she had spent the night with him. The following morning, at 5 o'clock, he had her leave so that his grandparents, who lived next door, wouldn't see he had a girl stay over. She left on foot to make the 15-minute walk home, but would sadly never arrive. Initially, law enforcement assumed Kristy was a runaway, delaying crucial investigative efforts. However, as weeks turned into months without any signs of her, authorities began to suspect foul play. 6 months later, in February 1998, a bag of Kristy's belongings was discovered in the woods behind Crestview Plaza Shopping Center near the old Winn-Dixie. The bag, which appeared to have been left there recently, contained her shirt, shorts, bra, underwear, socks, makeup, and keys. The clothing inside seemed more weathered than the bag itself, raising questions about when it had been placed there. This discovery further convinced investigators that Kristy had been a victim of foul play. 2 years after her disappearance, on May 23, 1999, unidentified remains were found near a canal in Boynton Beach, Florida. In January 2001, these remains were mistakenly identified as Kristy's based on dental records. The error was corrected a week later, but not before Kristy's family had begun making funeral arrangements. Even more unfortunate is that those remains have never been identified. Investigators now believe Kristy was abducted, likely by someone she knew. While her family, her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's family have all been ruled out as suspects, the details surrounding her disappearance remain a mystery. Kristy Jean Rogers disappeared on August 1, 1997, and as of February 2025, she has never been found, and this case remains unsolved. Libby Dawn Seiden was born to parents Joseph and Brenda on November 24, 1959. Libby grew up in Bombville, New York, as the youngest of 3 children in a close-knit family. In 1976, she graduated from Newburgh Free Academy, excelling in math and actively participating in the chess and math clubs. She later joined the U.S. Army Reserve, earning an honorable discharge in 1986. Libby explored various paths, from attending colleges like SUNY New Paltz and SUNY College at Cortland to working in a factory and pursuing a passion for jewelry making. Some of her pieces were even accepted into the Smithsonian Institute's gift shop. She also graduated from the Swedish Institute of Massage in New York City. Even though she was a licensed masseuse, she had reportedly engaged in prostitution. However, by 1993, 34-year-old Libby was trying to get her life together and was now living in the Hotel Newburgh in Newburgh, New York. She also attended vocational training at Hudson House, where she worked as a math tutor, and attended classes at Orange County Community College. On Christmas night in 1993, Libby was seen wearing a green snow jacket, blue jeans, and gold-rimmed glasses. At around 11 p.m., she was seen getting into an unknown vehicle. After that, she was never seen alive again. The following morning, at around 10:30, her body was discovered by a worker at the Patterson Materials Corporation on Walsh Road in New Windsor. She had been shot at close range in the chest and head. Her body left face down in the bitter cold, just 30 feet from the road. A year would go by with no leads until the FBI discovered new hair and fiber evidence on her clothing and were able to send it off for DNA analysis. Unfortunately, it still didn't lead to a suspect. Some believe her death could be linked to the murder of Lynette Herring, a young mother of 2 who was snatched from Newburgh, fatally shot, and her body dumped in New Jersey in March of 1992. Police suggested back then that Libby and Lynette's deaths were the work of drug gangs. Libby was murdered on Christmas night in 1993, and as of February 2025, her case remains unsolved.